everyone, welcome back to my channel, Literally G. Thank you so much for joining me in for my 5th video. So this video is going to be a little bit different. I am not talking about fashion. I'm talking about my personal experience of moving countries. As I mentioned before in my previous video, I moved from England to Canada 7 years ago, and it has been an interesting journey. And I think it's worth talking about. I think it's worth sharing with you guys what are the pros and cons of moving countries and just my experience in general. So do me a favor, go get yourself a cup of tea or glass of wine, whatever floats your boat. It's a huge step. I think if you're making a decision about moving countries, you really need to weigh out the pros and cons. For me, it was a quick decision because I tend to just take risks in life. I would consider myself to be quite confident person in a sense of moving places. I even moved for uni, which was 4 hours away from Toronto. I went to Windsor. I know it's not the same thing as moving to England. It's a huge step. And to be honest, I didn't really anticipate it to be life-changing at the time, because me and my husband had an understanding that I would move here temporarily and we'll move back. And I think that is still the idea. We're still gonna do that. I just want to talk you through what were my experiences like. What are some of the pros, what are some of the cons. So if you see me looking down, I've got my notebook. I made some notes about moving to England. What are the pros and what are the cons? Somebody else's experiences might be totally different than mine, but this is just something that I have learned and what I've gained, and hopefully somebody who's watching this video could take it away and then make their own decision. I personally think moving countries is life-changing, and I don't think you anticipate that in the beginning. I personally didn't anticipate to be such a dramatic change in my life. I just figured, hey, I'll move to England, we'll live there for a little bit and we'll come back. But then you don't really understand how it could take an emotional toll on you. It could work in your benefit, it could work against your benefit. I'm not gonna say that I was naive when I took that decision. I just figured it will be absolutely fine. I understand the language. It's not like I'm moving somewhere in France where they only speak French. Even though I'm Canadian, I should know a little bit of French, but I don't. But that's just to give you an example. I knew it'd be easy. I sort of knew the culture before I moved here because I used to come and see my husband all the time. So I kind of knew what to expect, but it was nothing like what I expected. I'll tell you what, I cried myself to sleep for the first year just because I missed my family so much. Considering I'm the youngest child, it definitely took a toll on me. I used to cry myself to sleep for the first entire year. And just because I missed my family. And my poor husband, he tried his best to keep me entertained, and I did find a job. I got myself a permanent job, and it was nothing to do with the country in itself. I think I just really missed my family and friends. Okay, now I'm gonna go through my list of pros and cons with you of moving countries. I hope you could relate. If you don't, again, please understand these are my experiences. And yeah, so let's get started. First, I'm gonna talk about the pros, and then I'll go through some of the cons. So the number one pro for me is moving to an exciting new place. As for most of us, when we think about moving to a new country, it's obviously making new friends, learning about new culture, and starting fresh. And not that I didn't like my life in Canada. I loved my life in Canada. It was just still exciting to move and start a new journey with my husband. So that was the number one for me. And number two is obviously moving to Europe. Come on now. I mean, everybody in Canada and America, they love coming to Europe, traveling to Italy, Paris, and all these cool places. And my husband works for British Airways, so that's definitely a bonus for us traveling. So we have done a little bit of traveling, not as much as I would like to, just because obviously you have so many responsibilities. You're trying to buy a house, and then we had a baby. But we do have plans to travel for the next year, hopefully. And yeah, I think that's just an exciting part of being in Europe. You could just go for the weekend trip. And so I've been to Rome, I've been to Paris, I've been to Belgium, and there are a few other places I definitely want to go and see. I want to explore Italy. I want to go on a Tuscany tour. So there's so many things to do, and I think Number 3 is English culture. There's so many exciting things that are part of it. English afternoon tea is the biggest thing. Oh my goodness, I love to go for an afternoon tea, okay? I've been to so many cool little places and I still have so many other I want to see, and I think English culture just in general itself is so interesting. And our friend Sheila, she made me sign up for National Trust. So what that means is, if you haven't heard of it before, so they're National Trust properties, they're historic buildings that are maintained by National Trust, so we get to go see them for free. So I have done that so many times and I love seeing them. And if you go on my Instagram, you probably see there's so many historic buildings I go around and take pictures in. Oh, there's so many things to say, so that is definitely another bonus. Number 4 thing, so this is something when I was in university and I was getting more and more into fashion, I always loved English fashion because it's so fast forward. And in Canada, we don't get things as quickly as they do here, and I love the fashion here. And I have to say, ever since I've moved here, it has definitely upped my fashion game, and that just got me really excited to start my own Instagram because I was just so inspired by the fashion and how people dress. If I were to put English fashion in one word, it would be that it is bold. In Canada, we are a little bit more reserved and conservative in so many ways. In England, people just dress up the way they want to dress up and they still make a statement, and I absolutely love it. I'm totally here for it. Okay, now let's talk about cons. I'm gonna try not to get too emotional because it has been quite a bit of a journey for me, but one of the biggest cons was being away from my family, and I missed them so much. I cried myself to sleep pretty much for the first year just because my family is so close, and moving, and I was living with my husband's family, and it was just an interesting experience. And yeah, it was just very difficult being away and trying to get your life together, and we were trying to save for a new house. It was an experience. I still miss my family so much. It's not easy being away from them all the time. Like, you miss big days together. We usually celebrate everything, so you tend to miss some of the big days. I miss my niece's birthday, my nephew's birthday, my sister's, and my mom and dad. They try to come as much as they can, and even my family, we try to be together for Christmas and one of the biggest days, but it's still not easy. I think that's the biggest con, being away from your family and even my friends. I do miss my friends. I think that's the biggest void for me. Second con is culture shock. My goodness, as much as I love the English culture now, initially when I moved here, I was culture shocked. Canadians, we are super nice, okay? We're the nicest people. And I moved here, I remember working in my first job, I used to just, like, you know, go around and say hi, hello, how are you doing? And people, they would just like either walk past me or not even asking me how I am doing. People sometimes are just rude or not as nice. That's what I find, and it's just maybe the English way, but I think that's just an excuse. There's nothing wrong with being nice and being polite. Come on now. You English people need to get your shit together. I'm probably gonna get some mean comments and people are probably gonna look at me sideways, but you know English people could be rude. Okay, another one of the biggest cons for me, for you it might not be the biggest con, it's the biggest con for me because I love Tim Hortons and they don't have a Tim Hortons here. Can you believe this? They probably have maybe one shop open in London now after so many years. So I usually, when I go to Canada, you better believe I buy myself enough coffee to last me for a few months, or when my mom and dad come, they know it's a given. Everybody who comes and sees me, they bring me Tim Hortons because Tim Hortons is life, okay? Okay, another one of the cons. Oh my god, if you are a shit driver like me, man, driving here... My husband, he loves his cars and his cars are like his life. Oh my, I've curved so many wheels. Yeah. My husband is all about cars and I've damaged his cars just because when I was learning to drive here, it's so difficult. Have you seen the road? They're so damn narrow. In Canada, we have nice open roads, so you know, when you're learning to drive, I know it's difficult, but it's so easy. Oh my god, learning to drive here was a mission and a half. I'll tell you what, that was one of my biggest traumas when I was learning to drive. The roundabouts, you know, the tiny roads, it's just, it's a nightmare. I'm still learning. I don't even go through country roads. I try to avoid, we live in country, but I try to avoid country roads because it's just a fucking nightmare. Another one of the cons, everything closes early. You know, we're so used to being in Canada, everything being open till 10, 11 o'clock. Everything here closes. Okay, on a good day, maybe on the weekend, food shops will be open till 10, 11 o'clock. But if you haven't gone to the grocery store on Sunday by 4 o'clock and you're hungry, you're gonna stay hungry. If you're living somewhere like I do in Buckinghamshire, I'm in Homer Green, so everything around me closes early. So staying on that, there's not very many fast food places. I guess it's a good thing because then you're not tempted to eat out all the time. But I do like my restaurants, and there are not very many nice restaurants around me, and I'm coming from Toronto. I'm so spoiled with my choice of different type of foods and restaurants, so that's another thing. I mean, if you're in London, that's not a problem for you, but if you're in somewhere like where I am in Homer Green, yeah, everything closes early. I'm always cooking, and sometimes it's just nice to have a few choices. There are only a couple of places that I like to go around here, but there are not very many choices. Okay, so those are the pros and cons as per me. I probably have left out a few things because I don't want to go on and on. Maybe we'll do a part 2 to this, but those are pros and cons as per my experience. But the overall verdict of moving to England, I have to say, has been a positive one, even though I've had really difficult times, as you can imagine, just trying to figure out your life and your partner and marriage. You know, when you first get married, as difficult as it is, I mean, getting married is a huge step. On top of that, moving country and getting married is just a whole another ball game. I'll tell you what, I would not trade this experience for anything else because it made me who I am. I am so self-reliant. I used to rely on my family all the time because I'm the youngest one. I was so spoiled by my family, and I've become so self-reliant because I had to do everything for myself. I think it made my character so strong, and all these experiences that I've been through, all this pain and heartache that I might have experienced in the past few years. I know you do that anyways, anywhere you are, but doing that without the support of your family and trying to overcome that, it has made me a better person. And I have to say, it has strengthened my relationship because, you know, my husband has been so helpful throughout this whole experience. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. The person that he is really made my stay in this country a worthwhile. You know, I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but if it wasn't for him, I would have moved back a long time ago. And trying not to get emotional, but hey, having a sip of tea. I'm trying not to get emotional, but I have to say, if any of you out there are thinking about moving to a country and you have your reasons, just do it. You know, you will only, I think it would only make you a better person. And it's gonna make you a stronger person. It's gonna give you so many valuable experiences that you probably won't be able to get staying in the same place. So I would say definitely make that move. To be honest, you could get through anything in life. That's what I've learned. You could get through anything. Moving countries is not the worst thing that you could do. So I would definitely recommend, even if it's for a job, if you're getting married, if your partner is somewhere, just do it. My overall experience definitely made me stronger. It made me more self-reliant. It made me just figure out my own strengths. I didn't know that I was as strong as I think I am now, and this whole experience brought me so close to my husband. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. And yeah, it has been a good experience, guys. I'm sorry if I bored you. Also, I would love to hear, if you moved country, how's your experience has been and what are the things you've learned. I think for my next video, I'm probably gonna do another fashion segment, but we're gonna do this tea time, I would say, every other week, and because I love having these chats with you, and I think life is all about sharing our experiences and learning from each other. So let's do more of that. Let me know what you think about this video. Give it a like if you like what you heard. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe so I can do more videos like this. I'll see you in my next video. Until next time, take care.